We hear a lot of talk about the $1 trillion sitting on the sidelines, that corporations have $1 trillion that they're just waiting to see what's going to happen. Is that accurate?
I think it's more than that. I think it's more like $2 trillion.
Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke telling Congress corporations are sitting on $2 trillion of cash, but he didn't say why. So is it mostly because of uncertainty out of Washington on policies that impact their bottom lines? We're joined now by Carolyn Heldman, Mike Norman, and Gary Kelpbaum. Gary K., so what's holding these guys back? What's holding the money back?
Well, it's all about uncertainty. Look, I run a business, and I see on a daily basis, and I know on a daily basis that there's $15 trillion in debt. That's the next 7.5 years of taxpayer dollars already spent. We got this health care bill that Einstein couldn't understand. And by the way, Bernanke's part of this equation, printing dollars left and right over the last couple of years and keeping rates at zero, causing a part of this problem. So when people see that businessmen are pretty smart, both small and large, they sit on their hands and they wait till the coast is clear. And I got to tell you, it's very cloudy right now.
All right. Well, Mike likes the money printing. He doesn't see a problem with that, but you don't like
I know
high
he likes
taxes,
it.
Well, it's
Mike.
not money.
You don't like high taxes,
Well, first of all,
right?
he's Kelpbaum's right about the uncertainty, but the uncertainty is coming from the economy, right? The economy. If you look at consumption, if you look at retail sales, if you look at personal consumption, the biggest component of GDP, it got crushed since 2007. So businesses are wary because they just don't see the orders on their books, and a lot of businesses have stated this, okay? Yeah. The other thing is this, in a balance sheet recession, which is what we're going through, okay, there's deleveraging going on. What does that mean? It means households and businesses want to shed risky assets.
Getting rid of their debts.
Right, and they want to hold
risk.
Good assets, which means cash. So, David, you don't only see this with businesses sitting on their cash, because what's all that money? It's retained earnings. It's profits they haven't spent. But households, too, the nominal level of savings is at an all-time high right now. That's right.
Cash is
you
king
see it even with individuals,
the big holders and the
not
small
just with the...
All right, but Carolyn, what about T.J. Rogers' point that there are a lot of businesses out there that want to expand? They've got these models, these projects that they've been wanting to work on for a long time, but they don't trust the market right now. They're not in a position to expand. They need conditions better, lower taxes, lower tax rates, less regulations where they would feel comfortable doing that.
David, the primary cause of what's happening is actually not uncertainty with government, but the Wall Street Journal asked employers in July, and they said it's aggregate demand. It's a lack of aggregate demand, which is caused by lack of liquidity. That's the biggest issue. Well, so, yes, government can do what it can at the margins, but what we really need to see is an increase in aggregate demand. That's not going to happen until it's a catch-22 until they start hiring.
I'm with you up to a point. I'm with both you and Mike up to a point, but Gary K., we are a nation, I think, more of producers than we are of consumers. We spend more time producing than we do consuming. We spend more of our energy into that. That's where our money comes from, with which we can go out and buy things. And companies and individuals seem ready to expand. It's just that they don't trust what the government's doing.
Confidence is on the demand side as well as the production side. Demand is not there because of lack of confidence. Production is not there because of a lack of confidence. It is all intertwined. And consumers as well as business see what's on the horizon. They can add up numbers. You know, opinions are opinions, but numbers are numbers. And when they see these massive deficits, when they see proposals in what I consider to be a recession of more tax increases and complete wasteful spending, they recognize that the potential of this economy will continue to have headwinds going forward until somebody does the opposite.
And Mike,
thus you end up in the soup like we're at.
Mike Norman, you are not a fan of higher taxes. You think taxes should be lowered. Tax rates should be lowered.
We don't have a problem in this economy because taxes are too low, right? They need to come down. I mean, all across the spectrum. But
I don't think Carolyn would agree with that, but go ahead.
Gary believes in the confidence fairy. You know, like somehow if the government just kind of gets out of the way, then there's just going to be this boom in confidence.
I didn't say that.
I mean, the confidence fairy is not going to appear. What we need, Carolyn's right, it's a question of we have an acute lack of demand in the economy. You got to boost it up. The government could spend more money. They could cut taxes. They could put money into the hands of people.
They've already spent trillions of dollars. How many more trillions, though?
Mike just agreed with you, but do you agree with him that, in fact, taxes are too high?
Well, it depends. If you're talking about the wealthy, I think they should actually pay the rate that they're supposed to pay without the loopholes in corporate taxes as well. So I could see an argument for bringing down corporate taxes during this economic downturn if they were actually paying the amount that we said that they were paying, but they're not, right? I mean, major corporations, some of them aren't paying any taxes at all.
GE didn't pay any taxes at all. But Gary Kay, it's fascinating that Carolyn, who I don't always agree with on these issues, I do in terms of leveling the playing field, getting rid of the deductions and bringing down corporate rates, bringing down individual rates as well.
I would love that. Look, the tax code is an absolute joke. It's an absolute blob.
It is.
Corporations spend more money on avoiding taxes than paying taxes. That needs to be changed. That can be helped. But I got to get back to this confidence thing. You know, decisions on hiring and spending is based on how people feel. These are decisions of people.
That's true.
And that is part of the equation here. And to think that confidence is a fairy type thing, I'm sorry, I got to disagree.
When your order book is full, you feel pretty good. So that's when you hire people, okay? When
I
it's
agree.
When it's not full, you don't feel pretty good.
We're
So
agreeing too
it
much in
boils
this
down to
segment,
that.
so we're going to get back and mix things up a little more and come out fighting. Picking winners and losers. Well, the same White House blasting banks for asking homeowners to pay their mortgages just dropped this bombshell. The administration is asking Congress to allow debt collectors to call personal cell phones to try and collect money from Americans who owe the government money. It's a hypocrisy alert, and our panel is back to weigh in. Carolyn, do you see any hypocrisy here?
Well, I do indeed. I don't know when President Obama started siding with these companies over citizens, but I'm concerned because the Federal Trade Commission says that this industry actually has more complaints than any other industry, 100,000 complaints about their treatment of customers in 2010. So no, I don't want them calling me on my cell phone or anyone else for that matter.
Gary Kay, what is going on here? I mean, there's an obvious contradiction in terms of, on the one hand, beating up the banks, and on the other hand, giving them much too much information about their customers.
I agree on the hypocrisy, but I have to tell you, I'm a big believer people that owe money, if they're not paying it, the entity that is owed the money has every right to try and get a hold of them in any way, shape, or form to get the money. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people don't have landlines anymore. But a lot of people do not have landlines anymore, and cell phone's the name of the thing. I use my cell phone 24 hours a day. I'm hardly ever on a landline, so I'm not really against this that much. I don't think it's a big deal, and I like the fact that they're going after people who actually owe the money.
You know, it is true, Mike Norman, what Gary says. A lot of people don't have landlines anymore, but a cell phone, it's something. There's something much more personal about it. Am I just old-fashioned or not?
No, you're not old-fashioned. But look, I don't think there's hypocrisy. I think there's ignorance. And here's why. It stems from this belief that the government has to collect money from people. What are they collecting? Dollars. All dollars in the universe emanate from the government. I mean, how did people get those dollars in the first place? It was spent into the economy. So this notion that the government is broke and it has to actually go out there as a debt collector and collect back this money, that would be like Ford having to get back its cars that it sold in order to sell more cars.
But hold on a second. They are doing it on behalf of the government. Is doing it on behalf of the private banks.
Ignorance.
You don't have problems with that?
Well, I agree with
Kohlbaum.
I agree with Kohlbaum in the sense that, look, if somebody owes a debt, then the creditor has a right to go after that debt. But the idea that the government has to go after it in this manner to get paid back or to recollect this money is ludicrous. That's just misunderstands.
Carolyn, I think I'm closer to you than anybody else on this one because of the fact I just think cell phones, that's kind of personal territory there. And plus, you know, frankly, you know how it is. You give information out to one person and a couple of other people or institutions know about it, and then the government knows about it. You know, and plus now with cell phones, Carolyn, they can tell where you are, where you're going, what you're doing.
Well, precisely, David, and I do see them as being a more private medium for communication. I have a cell phone so that I don't have to talk to people. That's the whole point.
That's right.
And in addition to that, I mean, it costs some people money in order to make a phone call, right? So not everybody has a plan where it's free to get robocalls or texts. So it doesn't make sense that they're opening this up. And it's a point well taken that this doesn't apply to private businesses. It only applies to the government. So we actually have a two-tier system where private businesses
here's the way.
To both.
Listen,
that's the problem. It's this sort of corporativist attitude. But Gary Kay, the fact is, I agree with you. You know, if you owe a debt, you got to pay it back. And if they want to grab you by the scruff of your neck and force you to, I think they have a certain amount of right to do that. The first people, by the way, who knew where I had moved back when I still had my college debt was Wachovia. And we used to call them Watchovia because they always watched over you. They knew, but this, you don't see this as going too
when
far,
they went
Gary.
bankrupt?
Yeah, well, in a way, I got to admit, yeah. Go ahead, Gary.
If I'm a business or an entity that's owed something for a product or a service, if I'm a bank that's owed money for a loan, it is my job as the business to contact the person that owes. And if it has to be a regular phone, cell phone, or email, I think so be it. As long as you do it within the rule of law, as long as you're not threatening or calling 57 different times a day. I mean, I think you got a job to do when you do it.
Okay, we're going to get the solution, but I got to say that a lot of phones that are going to be ringing are those phones of the protesters downtown. A lot of the colleges.
Forgive all the
I'm
loans.
almost certain that they have a lot of outstanding loans. But go
Here's
ahead,
a solution.
Mike.
It's a solution to you who doesn't want to get bugged with that phone call.
Well, I already paid back my debt. But
it's a solution to the people who have the debt, okay? And it's one of the solutions to the economy. You want to know what it is? Debt forgiveness. Debt forgiveness. Let them have the money.
So put all the banks out of business and we're dead.
Debt forgiveness. That's what we have to have. Debt forgiveness. Carolyn's on my side.
Carolyn's on your side, but a lot of bankers, a lot of banks aren't, and frankly, the banks are in trouble right now. Gang, thank you very much. We got a lot more.